Good morning, Southern California, AM 1220, KHTS. Your host, Fred Arnold, on the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. I'm joined by Rich Szerman. Rich Szerman with Realty One Group Solutions. Been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Yes, and Rich has been a couple decades in the business.
Yeah.
You're here.
24. Well, I started when I was 18, so it's not that bad. But yeah, 24. I'm 44 now, so I'm all right. But 24 years, almost 25.
And now I remember about almost a dozen years ago, foreclosures were popping up, and you were helping people with loan mods then.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about your free loan modification program that you do to help sellers.
Sure. Well, the situation is this. The crisis is not over. It's not anywhere near over. To act as if it is foolish. We're still losing 60 to 100 houses a month in Santa Clarita. It's not much better than it was even 5-10 years ago. The good news is there are rules, there are laws in place now. The bad news is the banks don't follow them. They ignore them because they feel they can get away with that. Because the people who need the legal system the most are the ones who are priced out of it. I mean, if you are in a foreclosure, if you're in danger of foreclosure, you don't have the money to go hire an attorney to fight back Bank of America or Wells Fargo or whoever it is you're dealing with. And I find that most people just have no idea what their options are. They have no idea that these laws exist. They have no idea how to beat the banks. They just don't get it.
But think about that. You got a billions and billions of dollar bank and a homeowner that's losing a house for $250,000, $300,000, $400,000. The cards are stacked on the big banks, the big cartels, if you will.
Well, what happens with the banks, the reason they're as foolish as they are in this regard is because they don't care. They don't see you as a human being. They see you as a line item. And you would think, since money is their motivating factor, banks exist for one reason and one reason alone, and that's to maximize profit for their shareholders. They don't do anything else. They sell money. You would think that they would pay more attention to their bottom line, but unfortunately, they don't always pay as much attention as they can. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. You basically have four options if you come to me. And this is something I should highlight. This is something we do for free and have done for free for many, many years. I don't believe in charging people when they're already in financial distress. Anyway, so there are four options. You can stay the course, which if that were desirable, you wouldn't be meeting with me. You can let the house go to foreclosure, which is never a good idea. You can do a short sale, which is where you're selling the house for less than you owe on it. Or you can do a loan modification. Those are really the only four options that you have in front of you. Now, the difference to a bank, if you're trying to see it from their point of view, between a foreclosure and a loan modification, on average, is 45% of the note's initial face value. And that's a great big number. You wouldn't think the banks would be walking away from that. But they do. They ignore it. There is no math you can employ that is going to tell you that you're better off foreclosing on a property, unless it has equity, of course, foreclosing on a property than doing a loan modification. Because even if the bank only gets one or two payments after a loan modification, it goes right back to foreclosure, which is their prerogative to do, if you don't make your payment, of course, then they've gotten one or two payments more. So it really doesn't behoove the bank to do these foreclosures, but there are just so many of them. The people in asset loss or at banks are very poorly trained and very, very bad at their jobs. And it's a level of incompetence that's terrifying. It would be bad enough if they were doing something that wasn't as important as where you live. But to see that level of incompetence when it's where people live is disheartening. And we fight that back one house at a time. And we win a lot more than we lose. I think we've completed over 1,000 of these now. And there are a lot of people still in their homes in the Santa Clarita Valley that wouldn't be had it not been for our intervention. And we're awfully, awfully proud of that. And again, I'd like to mention we do this completely for free. This is not something we charge for or ever will, as long as I have something to say about it.
Now, I must say that in order to stay in the loan mod business, you either have to do it for free and be very good at it and to stay profitable in it too, or charge for it. And the probably rules around charging for it is very expensive, and there's so many rules around it. So you obviously are doing it right to have done that many. So that's the first thing you offer, free loan modification. Let's talk about the rental rebate program.
Okay. Well, what we've done is there are a lot of deficiencies in real estate that I've seen over the last 20 plus years doing this. And the second of these, we have three of these programs that we're launching, and the second of these would be the rental rebate program. We've actually had it in the field for a while now, and it's working really well. What it's designed to do is take people who are renting properties right now and turn them into owners. What we do with that is we give you 10% of the rent you've already paid back to go buy a house. So it's a pretty straightforward thing. If you've been renting for $1,000 a month for the last year, that's $12,000 you've given your landlord. 10% of that would be $1,200, which we can give you to go buy a house. Now, the average rent in Santa Clarita is closer to $2,000, so obviously a little bit more than that. But we give people money to buy houses. We do it all the time, and as a result, we sell more houses. And we think that's lots and lots of fun.
So do they enter an agreement ahead of time with you?
Well, yeah, you have to sign up for the program, but it's very simple. I mean, everything in the program, all the rules, restrictions, and the application all fit on on one page.
And
We like to keep it simple.
people also, since they have skin in the game, have a tendency to take care of the property a little better.
Well, it's not a loan. They don't have to pay it back. It's just a grant. We literally just give them the money. Program maxes out at 1.5% of the purchase price, which doesn't sound like a lot until you start doing the computation. If the average sales price is $400,000, excuse me. If the average sales price is $400,000, 1.5% of that is going to be $6,000. When you're going to buy a house, having an extra $6,000 on the table is going to make it a lot easier. Because we ran into over and over again, particularly with first-time buyers, so people coming out of rentals often, not always, but often, is that they know, okay, I'm going to buy a house, and I know I want this kind of house, and I'm qualified for $400,000. And I know what my payment's going to be, and I get all that stuff worked out. But what they tend to forget is there are closing costs associated with that as well. And on a $400,000 deal, you're looking at closing costs somewhere between $7,000 to $10,000, depending on how the deal is structured. If we're able to pick up $6,000 of that for you, that's going to make it a lot easier to get the deal. It's going to make it a lot easier on the seller. It's going to give you a lot more choice of houses too, because you don't have to have every dime in closing costs paid for by the seller.
Absolutely, it gives you a lot more choices, more negotiating power. You also do a program called Resale Renovation.
Resale Renovation. Yeah, that's our latest one. Same sort of idea. We see all the time that people are selling houses for less than they really should because the houses need some work. And if you're selling a house, especially if it's a distress sale where you're selling it because you have to, not because you want to, and the situation with the house is it needs, I don't know, a couple $1,000 in carpet or a couple $1,000 in paint or whatever the situation may be, that can make a big, big, big difference. We just did one recently in Saugus where I went and saw the house. I was one of 3 or 4 realtors they met with. Everybody and their brother told them the house was worth about $480 kind of maximum. I looked at it and I thought, no, I think, we put a couple $1,000 here or there. Should be worth somewhere around $520. To which, of course, the seller's response was, yeah, I know what's wrong with my house. Thank you very much, but I don't have the money to put into it. So we stepped forward and said, well, we can do this. And again, you don't pay this back. It's a grant. We put the money into their house. I think we spent all of $4,000 on it, if I remember. And it was carpet, paint, and I think one cabinet downstairs. And sure enough, the house sold for $520. So these people sold the house for $40,000 more than everybody else was telling them it was worth. And it only cost us a couple $1,000. And to me, that's just good business. I mean, as a realtor, I know that the houses in best shape sell the fastest for the most amount of money. Real estate is, first of all, a commission industry. The more the house sells for, the more we make. Not my main motivation, but certainly something to pay attention to. But it also sells faster. So when we lay out money like that to help a seller, it's really kind of I hate the expression, but it's a win-win. Because we get something out of that as well. And I don't understand why most realtors just don't do that. Not being willing to invest in your client seems very odd to me. Right. But this has been the core of my business for 20 years. Doing things that other people are either afraid to or have talked about but aren't willing to is kind of where I've made my business. And I've been very lucky. I've been very, very, very fortunate, very blessed in that I have a pretty good-sized business, and I've been doing it for a very long time. It's afforded me a very nice lifestyle. And I've been trying to give back ever since the crisis really started. For me, it's a personal thing because the real estate crisis and the birth of my daughter sort of coincided, and that sort of straightens out your head a little bit.
Wait a second. Guy. When your daughter's 13 or 14 years old,
yeah, that's a whole other
and the
thing.
Tsunami happens.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. I'm not terribly well prepared.
Well, Rich, 3 great programs that we talked about. Now, I'm glad you came in because I think it's a completely different approach. Yep. Than what most people have out there, most real estate agents. So those who want to reach out to you at Realty One Group?
Those who want to give us a call, the easiest thing to do is just give me a call. I can always be reached at 661-714-1400. That's my cell. I'm not one of these people who separates who I am from what I do. They're one and the same, and I like what I do. I'm proud of what I do. So you can call me at that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I will print out the standard disclaimer, though. The quality of the advice I'm able to give you at 4 in the morning is in direct proportion to the amount of sleep I'm losing, so please bear that in mind. But other than that, you can call me or text me at that phone number anytime. You can also call me at the office at 661-253-3000. Again, it's 661-253-3000. You can reach us there as well. But these are programs that we do because they're really community outreach. And as a result, yes, we make a little bit less money on each deal for sure, but we also do a lot more deals. We have a lot more clients, and that's really the idea. The idea of the more you give, the more you get is not a revolutionary business concept. It just seems that way because so few people operate that way these days. So that's really kind of our guiding star these days. The more you give, the more you get. And we live that, and we work that every day and have for many, many years, and it works. It just does.
Rich, thanks.
Anytime.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rich from Realty One Group Solutions.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed this edition of the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. This show's Fred Arnold on AM 1220 KHTS.